Two big brains. Let's go. Right now, I want Jon Gruden to coach Indiana.
If Jon Gruden would take that job, I'm all in. Jon Gruden would be the home run of home runs. He would be the equivalent to what Brad Stevens would have been for basketball. There's no way kids wouldn't come to play for Jon Gruden.
All right, but all the little crazy liberals, well, he sent bad emails. That's what I'm saying.
Stop it.
Aren't we past all that? What?
We should have gotten past it when Bo McMillan left IU to take the Lions job. For God's sake, it was the last time Indiana was nationally relevant.
I know. I don't care who. I want somebody in here. I'll take Dan Mullen. I want somebody in here that's won. I don't want somebody in here that's lost. I want somebody in here that's won. All right, let me read you a tweet. I'm not going to tell you this is from a very, 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 very respected. I don't know if John will be a great coach, but they need a miracle in Indiana. Something out of the box. The normal process delivers a gym teacher. Dan, you need to carry the flag for Gruden. You just do. He would be perfect at Indiana, and he would want the job.
If he would want the job, if you've got a text from somebody who knows things about
knows
stuff,
Gruden very, 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 very well,
then he's spoken to Gruden.
Absolutely.
And then you know that Gruden would take the job for the right price, and he would put together an absolutely fantastic staff who would win immediately.
Right. And you know what? I don't care about emails. I don't care about any of it. I care about Indiana getting into the conversation in college football. Not the national championship college, but of interesting teams. It was fun, even it was 2020 with the masks and all the stupid stuff, that Indiana was good and relevant. It's fun. College football, people in Indiana don't even know how much fun college football is.
All I could think of over the weekend was the Ohio State-Michigan game and looking at the crowd at Michigan thinking how much fun it would be to be a part of that instead of a part of this.
Even on a lesser level. Like, okay, but Indiana needs to act. This is what I say. And I texted with Scott Dolson last night, and he was obviously very non-committal. But Indiana needs to be a Big 10 school.
Yeah, right. And that means you go and you hire, nothing against the candle guy from Toledo, but you don't hire the candle guy from Toledo when Michigan State just went out and got Smith from Oregon State.
I'll give you don't hire the guy from Toledo. If you're going to hire a guy, you hire the Leopold guy from Kansas, who's done some shit at Kansas.
Right.
A basketball school. That would be, like, I would want Gruden here, but my guy would be the guy, Leopold, who's been at Buffalo. He's now at Kansas. He's got athletes. I've watched a lot of Kansas. I don't even know why I've watched Kansas. But look at that. We got some money. Thank you.
Very nice of you.
Who
is that? What's he saying?
$5. I lock my keys on the outside of my car. Please help. Hey, here's what you do. Break a window. Call AAA.
Calling AAA works every time.
And getting AAA is the best insurance in the world.
You used to be able to take a knife and stick it down there and pop it. You can't do that.
A cop, my cousin, gave me a thing.
Oh, the little hook thing?
A real one.
Yeah.
Not a coat hanger. That was cheating.
Yeah.
Now you can't do it because the electric lock should kill the car. Call AAA. Give them a call. Tell them Dan and Ket sent you.
Tom Coverdale, the head of AAA in Indiana.
That's right. He's the man.
Let's go.
But to your point, I don't want. I wanted Urban Meyer back in the day, but I don't want Mac Guy this time. This is a different Big 10. This is USC coming in. UCL. You got to hire somebody that can inspire. If money's an issue, then you got to inspire somebody that's going to give more money. You got to get somebody in here that's won and understands how to go about it in the modern era.
That's really interesting because there are two different factions that you have to kind of activate with this hire. One of them, just the broad fan base who buys tickets. You want to prompt some ticket excitement. But the other group, the NIL group, who write big checks, the $15.5 million came from someplace, and those are smart people who know what ROI stands for, and they want ROI on their money, and that is not hiring Candle, and no offense to Justin Fry, but it's probably not hiring Justin Fry.
No. How about Frank Reich? Newly let go.
Bring him in?
Bring him.
Jesus, I just got a headache.
He just got let go. And that's, look, Well, you said it perfectly. When you walked in here and I said Frank Reich, and you said the comparison between Carolina and the Colts.
Yeah, it took them 10 games to figure out what it took us 5 years to figure out. I applaud Dave Tepper. Dave Tepper knew what he wanted. It wasn't this, so he moves on.
That's it.
He may be nuts, but he got this one right.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that's exactly right. To me, Dave Tepper, apparently he came out of the locker room yelling F-bombs yesterday. Here's the modern world. Jimmy Irsay knows when he exits the locker room, people are going to have a camera on him.
Right.
Dave Tepper is the owner of the Panthers. He knows when he exits the locker room, there's going to be a camera on him. So he's screaming F-bombs.
If you're the owner and you've got Frank Reich in the locker room saying things like, boys, we've got to stick together. We've got to believe in the Almighty. The Almighty will guide us through. Tough times reveal tough men.
Yeah.
You're going to have a guy like Dave Tepper running screaming F-bombs from the locker room.
All right, let's talk about a happier thing. I like the Colts, man.
Oh, I love the Colts.
Tell me.
What I really liked yesterday is that I thought that Steichen did a great job of scheming, and it was execution too, on those 4th and 1 plays that both led to touchdowns. That 24-yard completion to Pittman, the 30-yarder to Ollie Cox. I thought that was a guy with big balls, making a big balls decision in a big moment. I like Shane Steichen.
I like the balls, and I think that's all great. But to your point, I like the design of the plays.
Yeah. He's smart.
Yeah, he's really smart. And I liked it early in the year. We talked about this on the show when what they did on a 2-point conversion and inside the 10 with Anthony Richardson was fantastic. Just a variance of what you see, a variance of the norm.
Yeah.
There's so many things that are the norm when you get around there. And he is smart. He's innovative. He's clever with his play calling. I got to tell you, Mo Ellie Cox looked like you and me running.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of all these athletic tight ends that beat linebackers. And he looked like me or you at 60 years old running. He's like, I hope this run's about to end because big old Mo needs oxygen. It was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was unreal.
And he had to turn around to catch it. And that Minshew's like, oh my God, he's so open that he pushes it out there. And then Mo's like, please get to me before I get hit. Please get to me.
I'm so open. I got to make the.
Yeah.
But it was, you know what? And I criticize draft choices, but those front guys, Tyquan Lewis and the Hurricane and Kwity Paye got involved. The draft choices look pretty good.
Yeah. Although Ebicom, I brought him up, but he was a free agent. But you're right.
No, but it's still. I've been on Ballard, and when I'm wrong, I'm not wrong on Ballard yet, but I'll give him credit where it's due.
Yeah.
Here, I mean, it is definitely due because this team is being well coached. This team has interest. This team is interesting. They play with an esprit de corps, and you know what? I don't know if we touched on this, but they showed balls to the entire organization by cutting Darius Leonard.
Yeah. Right.
Right? Relationships, my ass.
Right.
You're not playing. You're not performing. Get the out.
And everybody's sad for a minute about it. And then they move the hell on.
Of course.
I thought of you yesterday as they showed Leonard up in the suite with his wife and his kids. And you talk about guys who like being them.
Oh, yeah.
He likes being Shaquille Leonard. That's what he misses. That's what he covets. And that's what he showed up for yesterday. They're not going to give him that wonderful send-off. So he came out, sat in the suite, stood up, and he's like this.
Yeah.
He wanted that one more time.
Yeah.
He wanted to be Shaq Leonard.
That's Bob Knight liked being Bob Knight.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he just did. He didn't want to coach. My last 2 years miserable, and then he did because Patrick came in, but he liked being Bob Knight. And Leonard, and I saw it. You saw it in Hard Knocks. He liked being in front of it, and good for him. I mean, look, 350 million people in this country. Everybody's different. Good for him. But that's all that was.
Right.
You're exactly right. And look, Zaire Franklin and a couple other guys gave nice testimonies, but it's just like a coach. Oh, man, I'm really sorry to see Tom Allen. Who's next?
Yep.
Right?
And then you move on like that. We've all been through it.
Yeah.
I've been through it on the other end.
Right.
I get shown the door. I hired guys, and I'm gone. I know that it's about 15 minutes where you guys go, got fired, huh? All right, what are we doing today?
Right.
That's exactly the way that works.
That's the way the world is. That's why I always talk about being a man. and walking like a man. It's just what men do. I'm not saying you're not sad. I'm not saying you, but you got to sack up. That's why my family motto is so you sack up, and Leonard will show somewhere, assuming he's healthy enough to pass a physical. He'll land somewhere. They'll be excited, then he'll get cut, and he'll be a journeyman. And I hope he saved his money. But let's get behind. I think Minshew's all right. I think he's all right. I didn't say great. I say he's all right. If you got to have a backup.
You got to have him not lose you the game.
Yes.
And that pick yesterday was really, really close to doing exactly that. You cannot, and I know that Downs was supposed to flare out and that Downs missed the cut and that those guys stared at each other like, huh?
Yeah.
And then I guess there was a cutaway of Steichen that wasn't generous toward, my wife thought, Josh Downs. I'm not sure if it was toward Josh Downs, but Julie was reading lips and said, oh, that is not a wonderfully positive way to describe somebody.
I saw something in Downs I did not like. And I'm going to tell you what it is. He goes on a little hook pattern. Ball hits him in the knee.
Yeah.
Like it's right there, ball hits him in the knee, and he starts going like this. Like, was it tipped? Was it tipped? It was, it was tipped. It'd be like me throwing it 10 feet away. And he's like making an excuse. Ball hits you in the friggin' knee, in the hands, and then the knee. And it was tipped. He was looking, and everybody's like, shut the fuck up. Go about your business. You know what I mean? I didn't like that, but he's 12 years old. Look, I know Tommy Larson, Minshew is not a starter, which is why he's a backup. And I know, and here's my ask to you, he's going to show you why he's a backup.
Right.
But he makes enough plays. Yes, he has. But he makes enough plays where you go, I'd rather have a guy out there that I think can make a play than like that Boyle guy that's trying to play Doyle or Boyle.
Boyle.
There's so many bad backups, kid. Yeah. I guess that's what I'm comparing.
Lots of them.
That's what I'm comparing.
And we've had bad backups. We had bad backups during the Manning era, but Manning never took a snap off until he had to.
So let me ask you, do you not like Minshew? Where are you at with Minshew?
Oh, no, I'm fine with him. But I think he's one of those guys you can win against bad teams with. You can't beat So if they get to the playoffs, they're going to get trucked by somebody. They're just going to get hammered by somebody. Maybe not in the first game, but that second game, they're going to get destroyed because Gardner Minshew will make mistakes and he will throw it to you. And if you are good enough to catch the football like the Buccaneers were not yesterday twice, should have had 2 more picks, he's going to get you killed.
Oh, no. I know.
We enjoy it while it's going on, though. We love this. It's great, Gardner.
Hey, you're the best. But I've always said just win. But you're right. I mean, backups will always show you eventually why they're backups. Because he's been given every opportunity to be a starter in the league, right?
And the chief opportunity was this past offseason, where he's on the street. If somebody wanted him as a starter, there were 32 teams that could have signed him to do it. One took a shot at him as the backup.
So I don't know how much you or I both know every starting quarterback in the NFL, but I will say this. I want him more than I want the guys that are in New England.
Yeah.
I want him more than I know Tommy DeVito's won a game or two, but I want him more than Tommy DeVito with the Giants. I want him more than the Jets guy that I've seen way too much. I want him more than the Bengals guy I saw yesterday, Browning, who I wanted more than Kenny Pickett.
Really bad backup.
Really bad. Yeah.
And great for the Colts that they didn't get the Bengals early on when Burrow was rolling a little bit.
Right.
Now they go play a completely like fangless offense.
And one that seems like that Zach Taylor's record without Burrow is like 4-25. Like, they just, so now you get, so I'm just saying, I guess my bar isn't to be as good as Lamar Jackson or to be as good as Jalen Hurts. But when you look at the backups across,
oh, no, I'm all good.
Yeah.
He's at the top tier of backups.
Yeah.
That does not make him a middle tier starter.
No.
That's not who he is.
He's not a middle tier starter. No, he's a better Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Brissett, I don't know. Brissett was always so kind of aloof, at least in the locker room. And Minshew's kind of one of the guys.
Yeah.
I don't know to what extent that makes any difference, but there was something about Brissett that I just didn't. I was like, kind of like Tom Allen is the head coach at Indiana. You're like, why? That's the way I was with Brissett.
I liked him because I saw him in the lobby of a Pacers game after a game, and he was cool to everybody.
Yeah.
So I became a big Brissett fan. Like, he's not exactly the biggest guy, so people didn't recognize him, but enough people recognize him, and I just kind of watched, and he was very, very cool to people. So I was always a Brissett fan, but that's not a reason to like him either.
No, that's what we do.
Right, I know. That's what are we talking about here? But I'll tell you one guy I do like.
Yeah.
I like Moss. I like Moss.
Oh, right.
I think he has. You're in the locker room, so I'm going to interview you right now. Have you heard Moss bitch, whine, moan?
Not once.
Anything other than being a good teammate?
And a great dude.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he balls.
Yep.
Like, he runs hard, that
bitch,
kid.
He doesn't moan. He got one carry in Germany, came back yesterday, and ran his ass off.
Yes.
He was really good.
Yes, and he's got a little bit of a reason.
Yeah.
To bitch, whine, and moan. I mean, he was over 100 yards. He was terrific.
And this is his contract year.
Yes.
So he's playing for money. And that money, when he gets one carry, that's money out of his pocket. But he doesn't bitch. He doesn't moan. He just goes to work.
I tell you what, I know you can probably notice a difference between Taylor and him when they're in the game. I'm sure you can. But not much. Not much.
No, and they are different.
They're different.
So, you change it up when you bring him in.
I guess I'm just saying.
He's a guy who will run to contact.
That's what
and Jonathan will run away from contact really, really well.
Yeah.
Not a criticism.
I didn't say it right. Like, when he's going speed-wise, vision-wise, when he's making his initial move through the hole, because basically everything's between the tackles for the most part. You don't notice that big a difference. Now, you're right. Taylor will go that way. He may go that way.
They're both patient.
Yeah.
And they both run downhill. Moss will do that thing. I talked to a guy I used to work with who was a defensive tackle in the NFL, and we were talking about Maurice Jones-Drew. And he said, I'll tell you what makes Drew a complete mess to play against is coming through the line. If you're a defensive tackle, he'll hit you with his pad right in the kidney. Just pop you in the kidney as he's going through. And by the time you get to the fourth quarter, you're hanging on to your blocker a little bit because you don't want to get hit in the kidney anymore. That's Zach Moss. Zach Moss will do that kind of stuff where he hits you and he punishes you for trying to tackle him. And I dig it.
That's solid.
Yeah.
Pittman was pretty good.
Pittman was really good.
Yeah.
10 catches, 107. Yeah. Here's where people are psychotic. Like, I was talking about Pittman last night, and somebody in the comments said, well, he had 2 drops. Like, what is the matter with people? Oh, I wouldn't pay. He doesn't get an extension. For me, he had 2 drops. He had 10 catches for 107 yards. He's on pace for about 115 catches and 1,200 yards. What the hell do people want from this guy?
And he's the best you got.
He's it.
Like, I'm retweeting us, but I'm just telling you, sometimes you got to love the one you're with.
Right.
I mean, you just do.
Is an awesome guy.
Right.
To talk to that guy, you just, like some of the guys, like Jonathan Taylor. God bless Jonathan Taylor. He does the best he can with the media, but he's putting on a show, and he's saying things that you don't believe that he necessarily believes.
Yeah.
Michael Pittman just talks to you, where it's like it's a normal conversation where at the end of a comment that he has, you've just got another question. You just want to keep asking the guy questions because his answers are great. I love talking to Michael Pittman.
Does Zach Pierce, there's a debate going on right now, Alec Pierce, is Alec Pierce good enough, overrated, somewhere in between, a bust? Where are we at with him?
I'll tell you what, he did a great job of breaking up an interception yesterday.
And he did a great job of blocking downfield a couple
blocks
times.
His ass off.
He does.
He does all the stuff.
That's what Russell just said. He does all the dirty work.
Yeah, he does. And he does it without complaint. And he ain't making himself any money. Nope. He's going to have, what, maybe 40 catches tops?
And nothing,
maybe 350?
I was going to say.
He's a 14-yard-a-catch guy, so
I
don't know, do the math. But less than 600 yards probably. And he's costing himself money, but he's balling out and trying to do all the little stuff that wins you games.
That's why I like this team.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an esprit de corps there that you're like, all right, I can get down with this team. This team looks good. Like, it looks like it's still climbing. Like, this isn't like, okay, you're playing bad teams, because you're playing bad teams.
Right.
Like the Buccaneers have lost like 6 or 7 or something stupid like that. And all right, but you can only play who's in front of you. And I look at how it's happening, and it's happening. It's like coming. It's not fragmenting. It's meshing.
Right.
That's the biggest thing.
And that's good coaching.
That is good. That's good. And it's not just him. It's his staff and everybody involved is putting this thing together on a weekly basis. Because we've seen it fall apart. Hell, we just saw it last year.
Right.
I mean, complete chaos. And it wasn't all Saturday's fault. I mean, it was they got rid of Reich for a reason.
Yeah.
What are you laughing at?
No, it was complete chaos. And it was, I'm thinking it's like 2 different organizations. I mean, last year was one version of the Colts that I was like, oh no. You know, we're in Bob Irsay territory where just like decisions are being made willy-nilly. And this year, everything's great. Like Ballard's doing his job, it would seem, at a high level. Steichen's terrific. They put together a good staff. They fired the O-line coach, bring in Tony Sperano Jr., who's awesome. They let the defense roll. The defense isn't perfect. Schematically, it drives me a little bit nuts. But you know what? They get wins.
What drives you nuts about the defense?
Too many open guys. I can't
feel
stand
that's the
zone.
NFL.
I don't like quarters. I don't like cover 3. I like manning up and saying, we're better than you are, we're going to beat your ass. I just think defense is an attitude as much as it is a scheme, and I think that scheme on the back end is kind of suspect.
Here's my thing with the NFL, and everybody, I'm wrong, but it's math. You got 4 guys rushing the passer. You got 7 guys in the back end. You got maybe 4 guys going out for a while for a pass.
Right.
That's my playground verbiage, going out for a pass. And you don't guard the best one. How often in an NFL game is the best receiver wide? No.
Mike Evans is by himself.
Jesus, by himself.
Yeah.
Because one guy went like this, and 2 guys had to go with him.
And then they stared at each other after the thing. If your scheme is too complicated for your players to run, you've got to change the scheme or the players, and changing the players is a little bit difficult 11 games into the season.
Yes. When Venturi was on my show, there were 2 things that used to drive us as former coaches mad. One was the fact that for 100 years, and they both involved one word, switch. One was that I forget what they call it, twist, where these are 2 tackles. You know, or nose guard tackle, whatever, on the defensive front. One goes this way, the other goes this way, twist. Well, defensively, when this guy goes this way, this guy picks him up, and when that guy goes that way, you just stand there. You don't even have to move. It's easy. You just yell switch. And the same thing, it drove Venturi and I insane. And then the same thing with that play you talked about yesterday. One guy's going this way, one guy, and it wasn't a rub.
Right.
It was like,
it wasn't.
Switch!
And you knew the way they lined up that Evans was going to the corner.
Right!
There was no way Evans wasn't going to the corner.
No! And then you look at each other, and one word, switch!
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying they wouldn't have put the ball right there. I'm not saying that Evans wouldn't have made a diving. I'm not saying they would have stopped the play, but I know it wouldn't have been wide open from me to the lake out here.
You know what? They covered it well later.
Yes,
in a similar thing where they had trips left and they rolled Evans to the corner, and Kenny Moore did a great job of communicating and picking it up.
Now that's coaching.
Yeah.
Now people ask, why do you look at things on the sideline? Why do you get those iPads and look? You look so that you recognize the formation, you recognize where you screwed it up, and you make a correction when you see something even remotely similar.
Yeah.
And so you and I are on the field going, what? You go to the sideline, they show you, you both effed it up, or you effed it up, or I effed it up, but it's right there. That's the greatest thing for a coach. I couldn't imagine being able to do that during a basketball game, how great that would be. Listen, dumbass, sit down. Are you telling me you didn't do it? It's right here.
Right.
Like, that's the greatest, and I never felt like, people always talk about adjustments. I never felt like there was teaching going on with Reich.
Right.
And I felt that way with Pagano, too. I never felt like you can see an evolution of something. And I feel that with this Colts team. It's not only esprit de corps, but the defense is getting better. The defensive front is getting better.
If you got a bunch of guys who are pointing at each other for being the dumbass who screwed up and nobody takes accountability, you got a real problem. That is going to be a tough fix. But if you've got guys who are like, okay, That's on me. I got it.
But even more than that, if you can show them, on a sideline. And here's the thing. Things don't happen in a vacuum. So you made the statement earlier, and I'm going to piggyback on it, that you knew that Evans was going to the corner. Well, okay, so let me give you a broader picture. Why do coaches get in there at 5 a.m? So that they know everything the other team's going to do, and then they relay it to the team. When Evans is here in this look, he's going to the corner.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the coaching. Like, I always use this as an example. People always say, wow, he's a great basketball coach because out of timeouts, his team ran great underneath, shut up. That's not, it's the stuff that you're seeing the Colts do that make for great. They correct things in game because, again, Belichick and Parcells told me this a lot. The team he had yesterday isn't the team he had today. It won't be the team he had tomorrow. Parcells said something like that, at least organic 100 years ago. Lou Holtz said it here. And it's true. It's games are different. And you got to correct the things in this game, not say, well, this happened in the previous game, so this is going to work in this game.
And that used to drive me crazy with Reich. And yesterday when the Colts were up 17-3, I was like, ooh, this feels, last year, there's no way this lead holds. Things have gone too well. They're going to stick with what they've been doing to get that 17-3 lead. And Bowles is going to adjust like crazy, and we're going to get our ass beat because we're not going to be able to adjust back. Steichen adjusted back. Bradley, I think, adjusted back a little bit. And so you wound up getting that win. And you had guys make big plays. I mean, Ubekam's sack, his strip sack was huge. And Dio there to go cover it up.
Yeah, well, the players, not plays. At the end, that's what that's what we always talk about. But you got to put yourself in that position that, you know what, let my players make the plays and have my players ready to make the plays and have them prepared. And that's, look, if Otter Creek, I love you long time, but don't be giving Rick Venturi shit. He was 35 years defensive coordinator in the NFL. Jesus, I mean, who you want us to reference? What? You guys love Fluss. Are we supposed to, talk about? Shut up. And I love you, Otter Creek.
Rick still prepares for every game as a radio analyst as though he's the defensive coordinator. That dude studies more tape than anybody in town. Between he and Gus Bradley, I'm not sure who's studying more tape.
I'm going to put it like this. Rick's studying as much, if not more, than Bradley. And Bradley is probably studying as much as Rick. Not more.
When we worked together in St. Louis, Rick and I was the program director and he was a host. He would study Missouri's tape for 6 hours to do a 10-minute interview with Gary Pinkel, who was the football coach at that point at Mizzou. That's the work and the show sounded like it. Like it was the best prepared sports talk radio show you ever heard in your life.
Right.
It was great. I was like, God almighty. And so I called him into the office. I was like, Rick, where are you getting these questions to ask Pinkel? Well, I watch a game and I break down the tape. For a 10-minute interview? Yeah, it takes me about 6 hours. It's like, all right, I never heard of that. That's awesome. But that's Rick Venturi.
It is.
He loves doing the work.
He loves that.
Yeah.
So I love you. But, Ken Sterling has beef with Jake Query. You got beef with Jake? You beefing?
I've never said a word about Jake Query. I have no idea what that even means.
We got no beef. I got beef with everybody, but I don't even think I have beef with Jake Query. I mean, if I don't have beef with Jake Query, then nobody. I got beef with everybody.
I've never listened to his show. I always got something going on from noon to 3 these days. You
know what's interesting about what you just said? We had this conversation. My brother and my mom were like, "How come you don't call us so much?" I go, "Well, because I used to call people from from 11 to 11:30 when I was driving." Yeah. No, I'm not driving. So when you're at home, I'm not. My mother, when I was a kid, and Mrs. Wellman and Mrs. Moore and Mrs. Onifree, somebody was always calling somebody while they were doing the dishes. I never just call a guy to chat.
No.
I mean, if I'm in a car, I'll call you to chat. Hey, what's going on? Get me to, Albuquerque. But, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not calling to have a chat with anybody.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
What?
I don't do that much.
No, have a point, ask your question, and let's hang up and get on with our lives. There it is.
And the question, if I'm going to ask it, is usually really innocuous. Like, hey, you want to have a beer later? I mean, I don't. That's all I got.
That's good.
I don't have much.
That's a good call.
All right, I want to get to IU basketball.
Yeah.
I won a lot of money yesterday on IU basketball.
Did
Do you know the line was 6.5 when I got it against Harvard?
Is it really?
It was. And I didn't bet the first half. But here's what I did. And then I took them 4 at halftime. So I made a lot of money. But I got to tell you about IU basketball, and this pisses me off, and I'm wrong, and I'm not being fair, okay? So I was watching an NFL game, and my daughter was here, so we were talking. I wasn't really paying attention to what was on. But I turned the IU game on. I don't even know. Maybe it was the first half, second half. They were shooting. Yeah, it was second half. First play I watched, some guy named Banks shoots a freaking 3. He's like, stupid shot, because maybe he can shoot 3s. I don't know who he is. But anyway, long rebound. Harvard gets the ball, dribbles down about 3/4 speed. The guy at Harvard takes the ball to the right wing. He looks, he's got a guy wide open on the right top of the key. I'm not giving it to him. So then he looks, and there's a guy wide open under the basket. Instead of hitting the guy that's wide open here for the 3, he hits the guy that's wide open for the basket. And I'm like, Indiana players didn't hustle, they didn't talk, they didn't do shit. So I said, screw it, I'm going back to football. And then I turned it on about 10 minutes later, because it was a commercial. IU throws a cross-court pass. Harvard guy deflects it, steals it, goes down, dunks it. Not one guy's even in the TV screen.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? I'm guessing that's because I hate IU basketball, but I don't think I hate IU basketball.
What prompted you to put a lot of money on IU in the second half?
Because there's no way Indiana isn't winning that game in Cambridge by less than 4. I got 4 in the second. There is no way. Like, I don't even bet knowing who any players are. But Indiana was going to win that game. The line was 6.5. I don't know what they ended up winning. I turned it back on. They were up
13.
Yeah, they were up like 11, and one of the big guys tipped one in. I'm like, okay, I'm good here. But there was no way there. But the fact that they were down and the fact that that's all the spread is. Again, I know Harvard has a really good player, and I know Tommy's a good coach, and blah, 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 blah.
Well, and Indiana hadn't beaten anybody by double digits, right? Had they?
No. And a lot of, but anyway, so my point with IU basketball, I think they're going to be good, but they don't play well. They're kind of like the anti-Colts.
I have no idea, Xavier Johnson's foot. I don't know to what extent it's hurt. Are you more optimistic about Indiana basketball if Xavier Johnson is on the shelf for a while? Or does his presence make you more optimistic that they can grow together?
I would like for Xavier Johnson to be a bit off the bench player. I thought last year Indiana was better without him because Hood Schifino got the ball.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that either Galloway or Cups or any of these guys can play to the level that you can win big without Johnson this year. I want to be, in fact, a very, 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 very winning, popular IU player swears to me every time Johnson goes down that it's bad for Johnson. We don't want to see a kid get hurt, but better for IU basketball, and particularly this team. He's asked me not to use his name, so I won't. But yesterday, I didn't know Johnson went down, and I get a text saying, team's going to get better. And I don't know if I buy that with this team. I don't. Do you?
Offensively, the ball pops a little bit. It moves, and they reverse it, and they go get a shot.
Yeah.
With Johnson, he's like Travis Betts.
I hate it. Yes. You and I talked about this. I hate the little dribbling guy that's not great. Isaiah Thomas, you want to dribble the bag off the ball? Go dribble the bag off the ball. But Xavier Johnson, we're waiting to set you up late clock?
And he does just enough. He gets to the 10 enough to make you feel good about him sometimes, which drives me crazy. Because then I have to argue with myself about him, and I don't like that.
He did that against Louisville. He got to the rim on the left side, went and laid it in. The interesting thing, and fellas, guys, gals, you really need to listen to him about basketball. I'm going to tell you why. I'm watching the Louisville game, and that freaking Ware, you can have that Ware. I know he went 11 for 12. Maybe he's a good Ivy League player, but you can have that clown. Because in the middle of a zone, and Kenny Payne is stupid enough to say that he got tricked by this idiotic zone. But I'm sitting there watching this Ware, and he has no idea. The number one rule in a zone is know what's behind you on the back line.
Right.
You know what's in front of you. Know what's behind you. This idiot Ware was, I'm sorry, I shouldn't call him an idiot, but I got to get the text between you and me. Because this guy is playing in the middle of the zone and has A, no interest in playing any defense, and B, no idea. What kind of an idiot on the back line of a 2-3 zone loses the guy behind him? Now, I'll let you all out there determine who sent that tweet. I said, that Ware guy, well, he said it because it was prompted by this. This Ware guy is a guy that gets you fired. Wow. And then I said, I hope he hits the game winner because, I'm fickle. But that guy, it's like you guys all got crazy about Cups against Gulf Coast. I'm like, wait. Okay, Ware was 11 for 12, and Baco, whatever his name is, hit a couple. Okay, they're good Ivy League players.
Yeah.
Let's see how we do.
Right.
They didn't do much against UConn.
We'll see what they do against Maryland.
When's that? Oh,
Friday.
That's this week, yeah. And Maryland stinks. They stink. But I'm sure they got guys. They usually have guys.
It's so hard to maintain any semblance of order with a roster being how many guys go through the portal and all that.
It's terrible.
Like you got a good team one year, all of a sudden everybody gets nervous because they're not projected in the mock NBA drafts. And they go someplace else and you're like, hey, you got to recruit your own and you got to recruit everybody else just in case your own wig out. That's complicated.
Let's go through this for a second. Did Kansas have to recruit their own? Did UConn have to keep their own? Did Purdue have to keep their own?
Yeah, right.
I'm just thinking about. I'm saying you're right. You are right, and this is an argument I have with my son, because at that level you absolutely have to recruit your own. They got a guy that made the coach get fired, Dan Muller, Antonio Reeves, who made $500,000 to go to Kentucky. You got a guy fired in the MAC or in the Missouri Valley. So Indiana should be, and again, maybe I'm in the 80s, should be a destination.
Yeah.
But it's never really been a destination because guys used to quit when I was there.
Well, you got to do what Painter does at Purdue. You recruit to a standard, a culture, you bring guys in who fit, they believe they fit, and so they stick around.
Maybe Indiana has that because Indiana didn't lose anybody.
Yeah.
Who did they lose?
Galloway and,
Who did they lose?
Or not Galloway. Geronimo. They lost like 4 guys.
Yeah, but I always thought they lost the right ones.
I didn't know whether they lost them or whether they shoved them.
Yeah, where's Geronimo at now? I don't even know. I don't either. But I thought he was going to be good, and he was not. Geronimo,
those physical freaks.
But Geronimo started 2 years ago. He started playing great in the Big 10 tournament.
Yeah.
And then I thought he was going to come back, be a shooter, add to it, and no, he didn't. But I give Woody, I'll argue with you on this. I think you're going to lose some. I think Woody's lost the right ones.
Yeah.
He didn't lose Galloway.
Who did he miss? Of the guys who've transferred the last 2 years, I don't miss any of them.
No.
Right.
I'd give you one. Ohio State had a kid named Leday. This kid, his mother was really nice. He was a freshman when Andrew was there on their staff, and he was in. He leaves. He's going to be a first-team All-American. First-team All-American. He's at San Diego State. He's averaging like 28 and 16.
Really?
I'm going to look him up right. He's unbelievable. He was a kid from Texas. So, it's like, what? I called Andrew. Andrew's like, Dad, I told you he was going to. That good? Sometimes.
What did Chris do? Why?
He wasn't playing. He would just, and there was no reason to play him as a freshman. There was none. There was zero. He started a couple games and looked terrible, but now he grew up.
Yeah.
So sometimes, but to Indiana, has there been a guy like Finney didn't do anything at Cincinnati?
Right.
Who else is like Geronimo? We don't even know where he is.
The kid who went to Xavier, Jerome Hunter.
The left-handed shooter, went to Providence.
Oh yeah, L. Durham.
He was okay.
Yeah.
But they haven't lost. They lost Jackson Davis. That's bad.
Isn't it funny? Like Providence, I never remember anybody who played there. All I know is Cooley is a terrific coach. Yeah. I love him, but I don't know any of the players on that team ever.
I'll tell you one guy I knew.
Who?
Guy's name was David Duke.
Oh,
KKK, not the KKK leader, but David Duke. I remember David freaking Duke. And then they had an NBA player.
Dickie Simpkins.
That's 100 years ago.
Right. Well,
Austin Crozier. Ernie DiGregorio, right. Marvin Barnes. I mean, I can go Kevin, the shooter. Kevin played for the Pacers. Hassett? I don't know. I can't remember. I wanted to go to Providence.
Really?
Yes. When they were rolling, when 1978 to 80, before I really got recruited, I thought Providence, small Catholic school, Dave Gavitt they went to the Final Four in 70-something. I thought that'd be a cool place to go to school.
Delray
went there. Yeah. Billy Donovan. Tamar Bates went to Missouri and is struggling. That's what I'm saying. Like, Tamar Bates shows up at Indiana, and he's all the rage about himself. He was walking in the weight room. Guys are lifting, and he's acting like, hey, the savior is here. And then he doesn't do shit. And then he goes to Missouri. I think he had a big game early, but I'll give Woody credit. Like Purdue's lost a guy or two, haven't they? Maybe they didn't even lose a guy. But Purdue, guys don't go.
I wish they'd lose a guy. I wish they'd lose a couple of guys.
They're pretty good. Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm going to say this until it doesn't happen. But if you were going to say gun to head regular season, does Purdue go undefeated?
No.
I'm going, yeah.
Here's what Painter does, and this is an example of it. Trey Kaufman-Wren, kid from Silver Creek down in Sellersburg, he's barely played. This is third year with that program. Hadn't played a hell of a lot. He's playing some this year, but he hadn't transferred. Mm-hmm. He's a top 50 kid. Point. You know, and he's battling and trying to figure it out. I love that about Purdue kids.
That's a great point. He needs to be replaced. They need to get Gillis in there for them to go undefeated. Yeah. But that's not your point. Your point is, here's a guy that has stuck it out. Yep. It's not like he's from 5 minutes away.
Right.
I mean, he's from Southern Indiana. I mean, what the hell? There's a lot of schools that he could go to if you transfer from Purdue from Southern Indiana. You can go to Louisville, probably go to Kentucky, probably go, wherever. But no, you're right, and and he'll end up being a good player.
Yeah,
he's not there yet. He's not tough enough yet. He's not Purdue tough yet.
But they get there.
I know they
somehow
do.
Or another. I don't, and that's been throughout Matt's whole run. Whether it was Juwan Johnson, who I know really, really well. Etwan Moore, both guys in that 07 class, they came into Purdue. They really didn't do a hell of a lot. And then over time, they got really good, made a lot of money in the NBA and over in Europe. JJ's still playing.
Let me tell you something. Robbie Hummel was getting beaten like sectionals and regionals with another guy on his team, Martin. Martin ended up, I mean, he left Purdue. He's a great kid. Robbie ends up in the rafters. Because he stayed. Robbie, it wasn't like Robbie was tearing up the state of Indiana's. I mean, maybe he tore up the AAU circuit, but not like he tore up, never got, I don't even think, to a semi-state with another guy that went to Purdue with him.
Right. And in AAU summer, he played with Etwan and Antoine Boyd and Gary McGee. They had, on paper, they were ranked really, really highly as far as having a lot of guys. Yeah. And then he went to the Nike camp. Hummel did, and he kind of blew up, and that's where it all kind of came true.
A lot of guys do at the Nike camp. Yeah, a lot of guys have two good games that you never heard of at the Nike camp, and then you say, wow, he's just like Richard Mandeville. Richard Mandeville kicked Rashard Griffin's ass.
Yeah.
I mean, upside, downside, inside, and outside. I'm like, he can shoot, and he's big. Goddamn. Wisconsin's going to get this kid. At least we got somebody that can play against him. Shit. But anyway, so not that Robbie was bad. Robbie was good enough that Sampson cheated. Yeah. Like Sampson's list of cheating was pretty impressive, and Robbie was on that list. But I'm just saying, that was
a bad class. Mike Davis showed his ass in that class, said he didn't know what he was doing because he recruited that class like shit. That was terrible. And Kelvin tried to come in and put it together quick, and it didn't work except for Gordon.
Yeah, and but all you got to do. Hummel went to Purdue, stayed at Purdue, and Martin left.
Yeah,
and Purdue just does that. I got to take my daughter at noon to somewhere. My daughter's here. It's like 10 till. So
great, Laura, fresh off a dental appointment last week, if I'm not mistaken.
What else we got?
Is that a HIPAA violation? I'm not sure if it's a HIPAA violation.
No, you have my permission.
Julie comes home and said, hey, guess who was in the office?
Harms and No Gel Eastern left. That was the greatest interview ever on my show when Matt Painter said, they're not Boilermakers. They quit. No, they're not. Yeah, you quit. Get away from me.
I'm really impressed with Gillis.
Yes.
Gillis was kind of an iffy get from Evanston.
No.
From Newcastle.
Yeah.
Right. Eastern. was from Evanston.
Oh, Eastern was the guy.
I knew that was trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, question, real quick. Gruden, Mullen, Jimbo Fisher.
Gruden. Dude's never coached in college.
That good?
Well, here's the thing. Gruden is not going to go anywhere without knowing he's got the tools to be able to win. So if Indiana hadn't had it rolling from an NIL perspective to this point, they're going to get it rolling by the time he signs that contract.
Do you think that all these schools, like I listen to these former Indiana players bitching about what hasn't been done with the program. They give them $15 million. They built a state-of-the-art weight facility. A couple years ago, they had one of those dorky videos where the players get their new locker room and they're all jumping around like little school kids. Like, do you think NIL, lack of NIL, is an excuse? Like Crean makes that excuse when
Allen made that excuse.
Yeah, that's
on his way out.
Yeah.
Said Indiana's got to embrace blah blah blah, which I didn't blame him for.
I don't either. But
you got to throw some shade on the people who fired you. It's a rule.
It's a rule. Yeah.
You're not going to take all the heat.
No,
yeah, I sucked.
But
I
think it's becoming an excuse for coaches and programs.
Well, if you're going to compete with Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan, you better figure out.
Does anybody know what those guys are actually making, and what does anybody know what Indiana's making as compared to Ohio State? And let me ask you another question: why shouldn't Indiana players have to pay part of the buyout for Allen? They're getting stipends. You should pay part of the buyout. You guys suck. Pay part of the buyout.
That'd be an interesting conversation.
If it's a business, I want a refund. If I gave $100,000 to Indiana's NIL and I'm watching these clowns play like this, I want a refund.
Well, they may pay by being dispatched. I mean, if they bring somebody in who's serious about it, they're not going to keep a 1-8 guy.
I wouldn't be mad about the Deion Sanders move.
No, let's go.
And the quarterback already left, right?
So he's in the portal.
He's in the portal. Yeah, it doesn't mean he left. Yeah. When's Jackson? I thought Jackson Davis's brother was the star.
Evidently not.
I thought he was pretty. I thought he could throw it. Be careful who you cheer for to come to Indiana. Yeah. Like, the crowd is cheering for Trey John or whatever the hell Davis.
Well, you always say it. The rankings don't mean shit because who's doing the rankings?
Who ranks the rankers?
Right.
Brad Stevens, circa 1998.
Oh,
yeah, it was his thing. When he was at Butler, before he really got it going, he's like, look, he goes, I knew that Gordon Hayward could play with anybody in the country, but he's going to Butler. He goes to Duke, he's a 4 or 5 star recruit. Who ranks the rankers? And I'm like, I'm writing that down. Who ranks the rankers?
Same thing with Matt Howard.
But I think he got that from Licklider.
Did he?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've got a footnote Licklider on that one. He did. Is Jeff Saturday the new coach of the Carolina?
Wouldn't that be hilarious?
or like Tony Boselli. No, he played in Jacksonville. Who's like a legendary Carolina Panther?
Cam Newton.
Bring Cam. And
And to answer the question that was up, Indiana can beat Notre Dame on Friday to go to the College Cup.
You ever betting against a Yeagley or Indiana soccer? I'm not.
Nope.
It's one of the great family dynasties in the history of sport.
When Indiana was playing like garbage, they tied Notre Dame up at Notre Dame 1-1. I think Indiana wins that game and they go to Louisville.
How about it feels like deja vu every year with IU soccer. They got to beat Virginia. I feel like they always play Virginia. They always play Virginia. I know. I hate them. Me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Me. I'm blowing my brains off. Gun in the air. Say goodnight. Not Joe Sloan, Joe Brady. Joe Brady, and he's not with LSU anymore. Maybe he is talking about Joe Sloan. Yeah, like and subscribe and give us some money. What the hell?
Yeah, why not? Why not do that, for God's sake? And, subscribe. We gave away a Jay Novacek autographed jersey today. And we give stuff away all the time.
Where'd you get Jay Novacek done again?
PristineAuction.com. Every once in a while, you find something that's being underbid, and it's a mystery box. And in the mystery box, it's a series of 75, and like 14 of the guys were former Colts. So I thought, okay, Bob Sanders, we got Shaq Leonard, we got a chance. I got Baker Mayfield twice. What the hell is the matter with the people at Pristine Auction? Anyway.
Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Hey, there's like 300 people on here. There's $11.97. Only 59
Cha-ching.
likes. Let's go. Chuck Hall, thank you. And I got to drive my daughter, and I got to be back.
Chuck Hall's the nicest man in the world.
Is he?
Every single morning, he says, "Good morning, Kent," in the comments. Always.
Really?
Every single time.
All right.
Good morning, Chuck, in case I don't say it enough.
By the way, thank you, Otter Creek. No, Venturi doesn't participate in nachos. Uh-oh. We got breaking news. Breaking news, but we're not going to say it.
We can't say it until
If
then.
Sterling and I decided to break all the news in Indy, we could break it right now. Big breaking news,
Always.
right now.
Yeah.
We're not doing it.
We could be trusted with the information. That's why
Right.
we have the breaking news. But if you read between the lines of what we say, there it is more often than not.
See you.